"Ma'am, you need to leave this aircraft immediately." That voice cut through the first-class cabin like a knife. I froze mid-step, the gold stripes on my sleeves catching the overhead lights. I'd been on my way to my cockpit, when a flight attendant swung her beverage cart across the aisle, blocking me. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her name tag read Amber Lewis. She pointed toward the exit door like she was directing traffic out of a burning building. "This is a restricted area. You can't just parade around in costume." A teenager in 2A sat up, phone already recording. Heads turned, eyes followed. I glanced down at my uniform, the captain's wings pinned above my heart. My ID clipped neatly to my jacket. Inside, a slow burn started. I've flown commercial jets for more than 2 decades. Graduated top of my class. Logged more hours in the sky than some of these flight attendants have worked in the industry. And here I was being treated like some random passenger playing dress-up. Amber leaned in, her voice dripping with condescension. "Real pilots don't look like you." I took a breath. "I'm Captain Morgan Ellis. This is Flight 292 to Denver. I'm scheduled to fly it." She gave my ID the quickest glance and smirked. "Nice fake. Did you get that online too?" Then for the whole cabin to hear, "Don't worry, folks. We'll have this handled shortly." A businessman in 1C lowered his paper. "She's clearly a pilot." Amber cut him off. "Sir, please, let us do our jobs." Phones kept coming out. I caught the teenager's screen, Instagram Live, comments flying in. "What the hell? She's blocking a pilot." I could feel every passenger's eyes. I could also feel something uglier. The quiet hum of judgment, the calculations some people make before they even speak to you. "Amber," I said, reading her tag again. "Step aside so I can get to the cockpit. And I need you off this plane before I call security." She crossed her arms. "Security for what?" I asked. She smiled, thin and sharp. "For impersonating crew." That word, impersonating, hit me like a slap. An older woman in 2B leaned forward. "Young lady, that captain has been nothing but professional." Amber snapped. "Ma'am, we can't have random people wandering around in pilot costumes. It's a security issue." I wasn't just fighting for my dignity anymore. I could feel it. This was one of those moments. The ones people talk about later, share online, argue over in comment sections. And I knew how it would look on camera. A black woman in a pilot's uniform facing down someone who refused to believe she belonged. My phone buzzed. A text from my CFO board meeting moved up discrimination policy draft ready for review. The irony almost made me laugh. In 3 hours, I was supposed to stand in front of our executives and talk about preventing bias. And right now, I was living the exact thing I was trying to stop. Amber leaned closer. "Maybe next time dress appropriately for your real job." She let it hang, then added, "Something in customer service. Or housekeeping, maybe." The cabin went dead silent. The teenager's live stream lit up. Did she just say housekeeping? An elderly man in 1D stood. "Young woman, I've been flying for 60 years. That pilot has more professionalism in her little finger than you've shown this entire time." Amber's cheeks flushed, but she didn't back down. "Sir, I'm following protocol." Protocol for what he pressed. I could have ended it right there. Reached into my briefcase, pulled out the one thing that would make every jaw drop. But I didn't. Not yet. Because people without that card, without my kind of power, go through this every day, and they can't fix it with a single reveal. Amber got on her radio. Ground control requesting security for passenger removal. Within a minute, the gate supervisor, Tom Jensen, showed up with 2 security officers in tow. Amber told her version me as a disruptive passenger impersonating crew. Tom looked me over, doubt flickering across his face, then sided with her. The officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us." That's when I saw it. Half the cabin filming some quietly standing in solidarity. The teenager's viewer count had tripled. A hashtag was already forming. Tom picked up his phone. Station manager's on the way. When Linda Prescott stormed in, she didn't ask questions, just gave me a once-over and said, "Even if you are some kind of pilot, you're clearly not ours. We have standards." I think I actually smiled, and then my co-pilot stepped out of the cockpit. "Where's Captain Ellis?" His eyes found me instantly. "That's her. We're scheduled to fly together today." The air shifted. Amber paled. Linda blinked but recovered fast. "Well, if she's really a pilot, why didn't she show proper ID from the beginning? Classic move, turn the victim into the problem. I'd had enough." I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. The line picked up instantly. "Ground all flights. Authorization code 55 Alpha 3. My voice was calm, but every ear in first class strained to hear. 90 seconds later, the departure board started flipping, boarding to, delayed, delayed, to canceled. Every Skywind air flight on the screen. Operations suspended. Phones rang unanswered. Radios crackled. Linda's face drained as she realized only one person had the authority to do that. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a black titanium card with gold lettering. "My name is Morgan Ellis. I'm not just a captain for Skywind Airlines. I own it." The silence after that was almost satisfying. Tom's radio slipped from his hand. Amber's mouth opened, then shut. Even the security officers straightened, like they'd just realized they'd been part of something bigger than a misunderstanding. I didn't yell. I didn't have to. I explained exactly what federal law says about discrimination. I showed them the drop in customer satisfaction, the spike in bias complaints, the millions in potential losses from one viral moment. My legal counsel arrived. So did my CFO. I gave them 3 options: fire everyone involved and bring in the feds. Suspend without pay, mandatory training, public apology. Or commit to an immediate company-wide overhaul of how we deal with bias. Linda got demoted to gate agent. Tom was reassigned to baggage. Amber, through tears, chose 6 months unpaid suspension and 300 hours of community service. Their apologies were filmed and posted within the hour. Then I called it. Resume operations. We took off for Denver like nothing had happened. Except everything had. 6 months later, I stood at the National Aviation Diversity Summit and told the story, not for sympathy, but to show what happens when you refuse to back down. The teenager who streamed it. He's now our director of social media accountability. Amber runs diversity training for the airline. Linda manages our busiest terminal, enforcing the very policies she once broke. 1 year later, Harvard Business School made it a case study. The FAA adopted parts of our policy. Netflix bought the rights for a documentary, and Skywind discrimination complaints dropped to nearly 0. I still get messages from passengers, stories about gate agents going above and beyond crews, treating everyone with dignity. And I keep all of them because they remind me what this fight is really about. Here's the truth: you don't need a CEO title or the power to ground flights to make change. You just need the courage to speak up, the persistence to be heard, and the belief that everyone deserves respect. So tell me, what would you have done if you'd been sitting in that cabin? Would you have spoken up or just watched? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about what justice should look like and whether we're willing to stand up for it when it counts.